The black car rolled slowly past the dusty construction site, its polished surface reflecting the bright afternoon sun. Inside the back seat sat a man whose life had changed beyond imagination. Yet at that moment, his heart felt as though it had been ripped out of his chest. Malik Washington leaned forward, his hand pressing against the window as his eyes widened in disbelief. "Stop the car," he said quietly. The driver slowed down immediately. But Malik was no longer paying attention to the road, the driver, or even the world around him. Because right there, in the middle of the construction site, he saw her. At first he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. It couldn't be. It simply couldn't. But the more he looked, the more the truth slammed into his chest. It was her, Imani Carter, the woman he had once promised to marry, the woman he had loved with every part of his soul. And now, she was carrying a bag of cement. Malik's breath caught in his throat. The bag looked too heavy for her. Her shoulders trembled slightly as she struggled to lift it. Her clothes were dusty and worn, her face shining with sweat under the scorching sun. Around her, several male workers stood laughing. One of them shook his head mockingly. "Look at her struggling," he said loudly. Another worker smirked. "Girl, you sure you don't belong in an office somewhere?" More laughter erupted. Imani didn't respond. She simply adjusted the heavy cement bag on her shoulder and began walking carefully across the construction site. Each step looked painful, but she kept moving. Malik felt his chest tighten painfully. His mind was racing. How? How did she end up here? This wasn't the life he had imagined for her. Not even close. Years ago, when he left this country, they had both stood under a flickering streetlight outside the tiny apartment building where she lived. She had held his hands tightly that night. "Promise me something," she had whispered. Malik swallowed hard, because now, seeing her struggling under the weight of that cement bag while men laughed at her, that promise came crashing back into his mind like thunder. "Sir," the driver said carefully, "should I keep driving?" Malik didn't answer. His eyes were still locked on Imani. For a moment, everything felt frozen. The world, the noise, the laughter of the workers, the sound of construction machines, everything, except his heartbeat. And then slowly, Malik exhaled. And that's when we say, welcome, story lovers. If you enjoy emotional stories about love, loyalty, unexpected reunions, and moments that change lives forever, then you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from as we continue this unforgettable story. Because what happened next at that construction site, no one could have predicted. Years earlier, Malik Washington had been just another broke young man trying to survive. He lived in a small, cramped apartment in a rough neighborhood where dreams often died before they had a chance to grow. Money was always tight. Some days, he barely had enough for food. But despite all that, there was one person who never gave up on him. Imani Carter. She worked 2 jobs back then. Mornings at a diner and evenings at a small clothing store. Yet somehow she always found time for him. Sometimes they would sit on the old bench outside her apartment building and talk about the future. Not the future they had, but the future they dreamed about. "I know you're going to make it one day," she would tell him with complete confidence. Malik would laugh. "How can you be so sure?" She would shrug. "Because I believe in you." That simple sentence had meant everything to him. No one had ever believed in him like that before. Not teachers, not neighbors, not even his own relatives. But Imani did, and that belief became the fire that pushed him forward. Then one day, everything changed. Malik got an opportunity, a chance to travel overseas and work for a small tech startup that was looking for ambitious young minds willing to take risks. It wasn't guaranteed success. In fact, most people thought it was a terrible idea. But Malik knew this was the chance he had been waiting for. The night before he left, he stood outside Imani's apartment under the glow of the streetlight. She looked nervous. "What if things change?" she asked softly. Malik held her hands. "Nothing will change. You promise?" "I promise." He looked deep into her eyes. "When I come back, I'll come back as a man who can finally give you the life you deserve." Imani smiled through her tears. "I don't need riches," she whispered. "I just need you." They hugged tightly that night. Neither of them knew how long they would be apart. What Malik didn't expect was how hard the road ahead would be. The first few years overseas were brutal. Long hours, sleepless nights, endless failures. There were moments he almost gave up. Moments when he wondered if he had made the biggest mistake of his life. But every time he felt like quitting, he remembered Imani's voice. "I believe in you." So he kept going. Slowly, things began to change. The small startup grew. New investors came in. Innovations happened. And before Malik fully realized it, he had become one of the most successful young entrepreneurs in the company. Years passed. The company exploded into a global success, and Malik Washington became a billionaire. But there was one thing he never forgot: his promise. He had always planned to return, to find Imani, to finally build the life they had once dreamed about together. Which is why, the moment he returned to the country, the very first thing he did was drive through the old neighborhoods, looking for her. But he never expected to find her like this. Back at the construction site, Imani finally dropped the empty cement bag and wiped the sweat from her forehead. Her body ached. This job was brutal, but she needed the money. Life had not been kind over the years. Her mother got sick. Medical bills piled up. The diner closed down. Opportunities became scarce. Eventually, she took whatever work she could find, even if it meant lifting cement under the burning sun. And somewhere deep in her heart, she had long stopped believing Malik would come back. After all, years had passed. Maybe he had moved on. Maybe he had forgotten. Maybe he had built a new life somewhere else. Imani sighed quietly. She picked up another bag of cement. That's when a black car door opened. Malik stepped out. The workers nearby immediately noticed him. His suit alone looked more expensive than anything they had ever seen. One of them whispered, "Who's that guy?" But Malik didn't even look at them. He was walking straight toward Imani, step by step, his heart pounding. Imani didn't notice him at first. She was focused on lifting another heavy bag. But then she heard footsteps approaching. She looked up and froze. The bag slipped from her hands and hit the ground. Her eyes widened. "Malik?" she whispered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Years of memories hung silently in the air between them. Malik stepped closer. His voice was soft. "I finally came back." Tears immediately filled Imani's eyes. She shook her head slightly, as if trying to convince herself this wasn't a dream. "Are you really here?" Malik nodded. "Yes." She looked down at her dusty clothes, at her rough hands. Embarrassment filled her face. "I'm sorry you had to see me like this." Malik's heart broke hearing that. Slowly, he reached out and took her hands. The same hands that once held us under a streetlight years ago. "I'm the one who's sorry," he said quietly. "I should have come back sooner." The workers around them watched in stunned silence. They had no idea who this man was. But something about the moment felt powerful. Imani wiped her tears. "So what happens now?" Malik smiled gently. "Now." He looked around the construction site, then back at her. "Now I keep the promise I made to you." And that day, everything changed.